Israel was originally a nation ruled directly by God. However, as the period of the judges continued, the people increasingly felt confusion and insecurity. Even the sons of the prophet Samuel were unjust, and eventually, the people cried out. They wanted a king to be set over them like the other nations, and God allowed it. Saul was very tall and had a handsome appearance. God told Samuel that he would lead him to the man who would become king. When Saul was searching for his father's lost donkeys, he met Samuel. Samuel told Saul that God had chosen him to be king. Samuel anointed Saul's head with oil, saying he would become king, just as God had instructed. Saul couldn't believe it, but he couldn't reject Samuel's words. Even when the people tried to crown him, Saul hid among the baggage, saying he was from the small tribe of Benjamin and was unworthy. Nahash, the Ammonite, besieged the region of Jabesh-Gilead and threatened to gouge out the eyes of the people unless a deliverer came within 7 days. When Saul heard this, he was enraged. He gathered the people and defeated Nahash. With this great victory, Saul secured his position as king and gained the people's trust, officially ending the era of the judges and becoming Israel's first king. Samuel then conveyed God's thoughts about how the people had rejected God's rule by asking for a king. To demonstrate God's displeasure, Samuel prayed, and thunder and rain came during the wheat harvest. Through this miracle, the people repented and recognized God's will. King Saul organized the army and grew stronger. But before a battle with the Philistines, Saul became very afraid. A priest was supposed to offer a burnt offering before the war, but Samuel did not arrive after 7 days. In his impatience, Saul offered the sacrifice himself. When Samuel arrived and saw this, he was deeply troubled. He told Saul that he had disobeyed God's command and that his kingdom would not endure. A new person would be chosen to be king. After Saul's disobedience, Samuel no longer wanted to see him. However, God gave another command to completely destroy the Amalekites, including all people and animals. But Saul spared the best livestock and the Amalekite king, Agag. When Samuel rebuked him, Saul said he had saved the best to offer sacrifices to God. Samuel replied that obedience is better than sacrifice and told Saul that because he had rejected God's command, God had rejected him as king. After this, Samuel distanced himself even further from Saul. Because of Saul's continued disobedience, God's spirit departed from him, and an evil spirit tormented him. He was filled with anxiety, distress, and jealousy. God then told Samuel that he had chosen someone from the house of Jesse. Samuel went and anointed David. Whenever the evil spirit tormented Saul, David played the harp, and Saul would feel relief. David served Saul by playing music. One day when David brought food to his brothers on the battlefield, he heard Goliath mocking God. Filled with righteous anger, David struck down Goliath with a stone in the name of the Lord, then used Goliath's own sword to kill him. Because Saul had promised his daughter to whoever killed Goliath, David became the king's son-in-law. But after hearing the people say, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s," Saul became jealous. He sent David into dangerous battles, hoping he would die. However, David survived and even married Saul's daughter. Though David played the harp for Saul, the king hurled a spear at him, trying to kill him. David fled far away. Later, Saul slaughtered many priests and Nob simply because they had given food to David. David, now a fugitive hiding in caves, began gathering followers. One day Saul entered the same cave to relieve himself. David had a chance to kill him, but instead only cut off a corner of his robe. This was an act of faith, as David believed he could not harm the one God had anointed. Even after learning this, Saul continued to harbor jealousy and hatred toward David. After Samuel's death, Saul, afraid of an upcoming battle with the Philistines, sought out a medium and asked her to summon Samuel's spirit. This was a detestable act in God's eyes. The spirit of Samuel prophesied that Saul and his sons would die in battle. Saul was terrified, and this showed his spiritual collapse and disobedience. In the battle with the Philistines, Saul suffered a crushing defeat. His son Jonathan and his 2 brothers were killed. Saul himself was severely wounded. To avoid capture, he asked his servant to kill him, but the servant was afraid. So Saul fell on his own sword and died. Through King Saul's story, we learn the importance of humility and obedience. Today we have learned about King Saul, who met a tragic end due to disobedience to God. Thank you.